Now let's move to our next OOPS topic, which is inheritance. Question is, what is inheritance? Inheritance is a process of accessing one class properties and functionalities into another class. In case of inheritance, you will always have these two classes. First class, from where you are inheriting the properties and functionalities, that class is known as base class or parent class. The class where you are making available those properties and functionalities is known as child class or derived class. In OOPS, we have different type of inheritance such as single inheritance, multi-level inheritance, multiple inheritance, hybrid inheritance, and hierarchical inheritance. In Java also, all these type of inheritance are supported except this multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance doesn't support in case of classes, but it supports in case of interfaces. Why this is so, we are going to learn it soon, so don't worry about it. So let's begin with the very first type of inheritance, which is single inheritance. In this implementation, I have two classes. One is department, another is employee. Department is holding department related information such as department name and having setter method to update this department name information. Employee class is holding employee related information such as employee name and salary and updating this information by using this method called change data. Now my employee class also want to have department information, wants to access department name and setter method of department name inside employee class. How to achieve this? To achieve this, to access one class properties and functionalities into another class, we can use inheritance. How we implement inheritance? We need to use extends keyword to inherit one class into another class. We are simply saying employee extends department and all those properties and functionalities that are defined inside department class now will be available to employee class. Internally, those properties and functionalities are copy paste into employee class. Now you can assume that employee class is not only holding an e-name and salary but also having department name. So if I have another method called display data, this can not only print employee name and salary but can also print department name information. And let's suppose if I instantiate employee class object here, and then if I am calling change data method and I'm passing some detail here, then employee name and salary will be initialized by this change data method. And then I can also call set department name method, which is coming from the parent class because this is now available to child class as well. And I am directly calling with employee class object itself. And then again I'm saying display data to display all the information including my own class information and the information or variables that came from parent class. Everyone is clear with the single inheritance. Single inheritance is nothing but when you have one base class and one child class, then that is single inheritance. In multiple inheritance, you will have multiple base classes and one child class. Then that is known as multiple inheritance. Multiple level inheritance is when you have one base class inheriting to a child class and that child class again inheriting to further child class. Then the inheritance is implementing at different levels. That is known as multi-level inheritance. Then we have hierarchical inheritance. In hierarchical inheritance, you will have one base class and that base class will be available to multiple child classes. That is hierarchical inheritance. You can say that hierarchical inheritance is vice versa of multiple inheritance. In multiple inheritance, you have multiple base class and one child class, and in hierarchical inheritance, you will have one base class and multiple child classes. Now let's talk about hybrid inheritance. Hybrid inheritance is something combination of any two type of inheritance in a same application or in a same program. To better explain you hybrid inheritance, I am showing you here another diagram for hybrid inheritance. I have a class A which is inheriting to class B and single inheritance is implementing here. In other branch, I am inheriting class A into class C and class C into class D means I am implementing multi-level inheritance. So it is clearly visible that we are implementing single inheritance as well as multi-level inheritance in the same implementation. If you'll see this type of inheritance, if you'll see combination of any two inheritance in the same application or in same set of classes, then that is known as hybrid inheritance. Now let's move to the next concept, which is why Java doesn't support multiple inheritance in case of classes. Try to understand this with an example. I have a class A which is containing a method named calculate area. That calculate area method is actually calculating area of circle. And class B is also containing a method calculate area, and that method is containing a logic to calculate the area of, let's suppose, square, area of square. Now, class A and class B, both classes are inheriting to class C, and class C is having now both methods came from class A and class B. Then if I call calculate area on class C object, then which calculate area method get execute? Because both calculate area methods having different definitions. And class C can't give the priority to one of them because both are coming from the same level of inheritance. Because both parent are on same level, no one can get priority, and that's a problem. In C++, they resolve this problem by friends function concept. But in Java, we don't have this concept of friends function. That's why they decide to deprecate this multiple inheritance, because they understood this, that there is nothing we can do with multiple inheritance that we can't do with other type of inheritance. So if you have that type of requirement where you want to inherit class A and class B into class C, you can go with other type of inheritance such as multi-level inheritance. You can simply inherit class A into class B and class B into class C, and then you can make the call to the parent class method by using super keyword. And further, if you want to make the call inside class A, again you can use super here in class B and you can make the call inside class A. So you can resolve that problem. So you don't need to use multiple inheritance in case of classes only. But in case of interfaces, Java support multiple inheritance. How Java support multiple inheritance in case of interfaces? Because in case of interfaces, we don't have definition of method. So if calculate area method will be there in interface A and calculate area there in interface B, then both method will be bodiless. Both methods will be abstract. They doesn't contain any definition, and when they don't have definition, then child need to override the functionalities that are coming from interface A and interface B. And this is how there is no adverse effect of having multiple inheritance in case of interfaces in Java. You will better understand this concept when we will learn interfaces in upcoming classes.